Real Talk the podcast. We just keeping it real. Inspirational, motivation. It's something that you can feel. Authentic, I know you can tell. Hosted by Kimberly Sherrill. We got food for thought. Come help yourself. One of a kind like nobody else. Yeah, wanna see you mentally grow in a major way. Play this back like day to day. See all that stress and doubt, just watch it fade away. There is nothing you cannot achieve. Good vibes, yeah, we got that. Kimberly, go ahead and talk to him. It's the Real Talk podcast. Let's go.
Well, hello, beautiful people. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk the podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Sherrill. I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Whatever day this is that you are listening, just know that you are truly appreciated because you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to be here with me. For that, I'm forever grateful. I'm so excited for today's episode because I have with me in the guest chair none other than Lisa McGrath. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Kimberly, my sister friend.
How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you. I hope you are.
Listen, as soon as the mic turns on, everyone knows that it is lights, camera, action over here. But today was not a horrible day, so I am definitely smiling.
That's terrific.
So go ahead and tell the beautiful listeners of Real Talk the podcast a little bit more about you.
Wow. I have my hands in lots of things, Kimberly. You know this. But I am the founder and CEO of a pilgrimage to self. And what I do with that is I help women connect their heart, mind, body, and spirit. And I do this in a number of ways. One, I have a monthly membership. So it's ongoing and the new information comes out each week. And then I also do a coaching program. And I have several packages that are 6 and 12 weeks, but they always seem to be filled up. So just recently I've changed, I added some extra coaching, and it's Achieve Your Goals with Unlimited Laser Focus. And so I'm helping these women some are entrepreneurs, some are just too busy, with unlimited coaching. That means that they can come to me in 15-minute increments and we laser focus on what they need. And they've learned my philosophies, one of which is the Indian proverb. And I've told you about the Indian proverb before. It's a house with 4 rooms. And a house with 4 rooms talks about every person seeing themselves as having a physical, a mental, emotional, and spiritual room. And the proverb tells us we must go into each one of those 4 rooms daily to be a complete person. And it says you don't have to spend a lot of time in each one of those 4 rooms, but you must go in every single day, even if it's just to open a window and air it out. But the caution is you don't want to avoid one room and spend too much time in any other room. And for example, the emotional room. When we hit, people think oftentimes that they're reaching a dead end. When they go in to that emotional room and they spend way too much time there, life is passing them by. So are the opportunities to do something for their physical well-being, their mental or intellectual health, and their spiritual well-being. So we don't want to spend more time in one room over another. And this philosophy has really been part of my life for over 25 years. I've used it to really build my core, my foundation. And because of that, it's allowing me to achieve in every other area of my life. I hope that makes sense.
So there's so much I want to go back and tap into on that. So tell me, how did you learn about this Indian proverb? Because prior to my conversation with you, I had never heard it, but it makes so much sense. Like as you were speaking about spending too much time in one room versus another, I was thinking about how when you go to someone's home, you can tell where they live by the wares on the floor.
Yeah. So it's been, over 25, 30 years ago, I was reading a book by Rumor Godden. And in that book, she spoke of this Indian proverb. And Ever since that day, it has entered my life. And I have taught this Indian proverb ever since. I've taught it when I was a college professor. I've taught it at the high school level. And I've even taught it in the prison system. And now I'm teaching it to women who really want to live their best life. They they want to get in touch with themselves. They want to, live for them and make themselves a priority. How many times have you heard stories of women putting their dreams and their life on the back burner because they're taking care of a husband, they're taking care of children, they're taking care of elderly parents, they're working at a job because they need the income to pay the rent, rather than working at a job that fulfills them, rather than waking up in the morning saying, yes, I get another day. The Indian proverb helps me live in such a way that I know when I do things for my own well-being, it's filling my batteries. I'm better for all of my family, as well as my friends, and as my business associates and my clients.
I totally agree with that. I am, and the listeners know this, I speak about it all the time. I'm a person who believes that you have to live your life aligned with your passion and your purpose, which totally, is a part of this proverb that you have built your life and business around, because you do need income in this society. You need income to sustain life. But that doesn't mean you have to do it being miserable. And I think that that's where people get a little bit caught in the mud.
Mm,
Is thinking that you have to, like, oh no, I have to keep my job because I have bills to pay. No, you have to continue to be able to pay your bills, but you don't have to be at that job to make income. As a matter of fact, you're probably a better worker for yourself or doing something else that is aligned with your passion, because if it's something you hate, you do the bare minimum of it. And for me, the analogy that immediately popped in my mind, when I was a child, my mom had this rule about dinner. She was not a short order cook.
mhm,
We ate what she made.
mhm,
We had to sit to the table, me and my two brothers, and we had to eat the things that she cooked. And you could not drink your glass of Kool-Aid until you ate your vegetables. There was rarely a time she cooked a vegetable that I liked. Majority of the time, it was her favorite child, my older brother. It was something he liked and something me and my younger brother despised. My older brother loved it, so it was never any issue with him eating the green beans and drinking the Kool-Aid. It was an issue because she knew me and my younger brother hated it. And I knew what the requirement was to drink it. So I would just shove it all in my mouth and just swallow as quickly as possible, chase it with some Kool-Aid. My younger brother would be at a standoff with the plate for hours. But that goes into something that you hate. You do the bare minimum of it. You do just enough of it to say that you've done it. You're on a job that you hate. Are you really trying to be productive for this company? Or are you doing enough to meet the requirements of payroll?
exactly. And I grew up very similar to you then, because I sat at the kitchen table and we were not allowed to get up until we finished what was on our plate. And if it was a school night, my stepmother would take that food, put it in the fridge, and you'd have it for breakfast the next day. So you had to eat all the food on your plate. And I guess, I was just on a phone call with a client, and one of the things that we talked about is the magic ingredient. There's a magic ingredient that some people do not realize that they have, and that's choice. Everything that you're doing, everything that you're living is a choice you made. So if you choose, you can choose to do something different. You can choose to go to school and get an education. You can choose to get a job. You can choose to buy one car over another. We're not really stuck. We've chosen whatever path we're on. We just need to make better choices. And oftentimes, the clients that come to me, they don't start with a growth mindset. And once they realize that with a growth mindset, there's power in not knowing something yet. So when you say, I can't do something, you're absolutely right. I think it was Ford that had originally said that. But when you take away that apostrophe T and you make a commitment and you realize, I can't do this right now, but I can learn it and then I will know it. Because there's power in that word yet. Technology for me is very much in that lane. I have trouble with technology. Matter of fact, I just bought a new iPhone. And my son, the first thing they say is, Mom, that's too much technology for you. And it's not. I can learn to use it. I just haven't mastered it yet. And I think if our students in our schools were taught that growth mindset, that power of yet, they wouldn't feel so beaten down, especially when we talk about the end of course tests and the things that they have to take that beat them up. If the children and our even the young adults would know that we're not all experts at anything right away. It takes time. Think about, you have two boys, right? Two young boys.
Yes,
Yeah.
a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Okay, so it wasn't so long ago for you. It's been quite a few years for me. However, when my kids were younger and they first stood up and they were like teeter-tottering, when they fell down, when they're trying to learn to walk, I didn't say, stop, you don't know how to walk. You're not good at that. Don't do it again. I encouraged them to stand back up and said, you just don't know how to do it yet. And again, that encouragement to keep on trying. I've come across lots of clients and lots of people that believe that when someone tells them they can't do something or they're not good enough, they don't even bother to try anymore. They give up. But when you know that special ingredient, that magic ingredient of this is my choice, and that you partner that with the power of yet, magic happens.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, and that is something that I have taught to students is to put yet on the end um, for many reasons. Very simply saying, when you say you can't do something and you put a period there, you're now stopping the thought. But when you put a comma, you're just simply pausing.
Mhm.
Totally different than a stop. And it really begins to change the outlook on things. So, I'm loving all of this. I want to know, how did you decide, okay, I want to take this Indian proverb and I want to help women move forward with their life to take care of themselves more than they are taking care of everyone else by doing something for them. What made you decide that you wanted to take that and turn it into a business that was really going to help women?
It was a promise to God. It was a promise. In 2015, I had emergency open heart surgery and I had bilateral pulmonary emboli. I lost a lung. And the doctor came in, the cardiac thoracic surgeon came in and said, I don't know why you're still alive. And I said, I do. God's not done with me yet. He has more for me to do. And before that open heart surgery, Kimberly, I prayed and I said to God, if you're taking me, I don't like it, but I understand. I've had my life, but I think there's more for me to do. And I said, if I wake up, I will make my mess my message. I won't be silent anymore. And I'll tell other women who are walking the same paths that I've walked, that dysfunctional family, the abuse, the divorce, the empty nest, the addictions in the family. that yes, we can recover and heal from all that trauma, and we can start to make a choice in how we want to live and who we want to be. Every day we wake up as artists and we have a new canvas. If you don't like what you painted the day before, you can change it. You have a choice. In every moment, we have a choice. So in 2015, I brought my business offline, online. And again, I've already confessed, technology is not my thing. However, I had the power of yet and the magic of choice behind me. And now not only do I have a website, I have courses. I teach people how to develop forgiveness practices, gratitude practices, communication skills. And I just told you that I've got a new course that will be coming up starting hopefully in January. And it's to help entrepreneurs, coaches, aspiring writers to learn the basics of writing. So if they have a blog and they would like to write a better blog, or if they have to write an article, they want to write a book, it'll up their level of writing, their skills. And then I'm going to teach them how to not only edit and publish, but how to market that. And then 6 times a year is my goal. I will publish an anthology, and those students, those clients will be able to put a chapter into that book. And then when it's done, they're able not only to say that they're a published author, but that becomes their business card. That becomes their why. And they can share that with their clients, with their avatar, with their family, their friends. And it just leverages their whole business up. So I'm really excited about that coming in January.
I love that. First of all, I'm just, I have to commend you on using your God's not done with me yet in that positive light. Mainly when I say it, I've just, snapped on somebody and I'm like, what? God's not done with me yet. What do you want for my life? Type thing. But and I guess in a way it kind of is to say, he still got a little bit more work to do with me. That tongue will whip people sometime. But I like that because you can really feel the passion when you speak about the program and helping people and building something everlasting with them. That passion, that it can just be felt. I'm feeling it as we speak every single time. And that's important. That's really, really important, because at the end of the day, people don't want you to sell something to them. They want you to share an experience with them, and they enjoy it. So for you, being the person who is facilitating all of this, and at the end, your clients, they have grown through their work with you. How do you feel at the end of a coach-client relationship? How are you feeling?
That's a great question. So we have to sustain ourselves. We have bills to pay. And so there are those obvious benefits. But on a more personal and intrinsic level, to be witness and to have someone trust you to share their story, whether it's in the coaching atmosphere or now in this writing course that I'm developing. Everyone has a story, but not everyone is willing to listen. And not everyone has someone that wants to hear their story over and over again. Sometimes our family and friends is like, for a woman that's going through a divorce, they've heard it already. They don't want to hear it anymore. And so they come to me, and I'm a new ear. I can listen. And because I'm not emotionally attached to their story, I can see it with fresh eyes in a different perspective. And so that's an honor. It's a blessing that someone not only likes and knows and trusts me, but they're willing to commit to themselves and allow me to bear witness. How awesome is that?
Pretty awesome, because I coach as well, and there's something about that relationship because it's trust. And I related to being the proud aunt, being a proud auntie. You know, your business, your book, your brand, it's a baby because this is not something that you can just produce overnight. It takes work. You will have some tears along the way. You will have those joyous moments, you will have that excitement, and then the day that the business, the brand, the book is birthed, the client is very proud. It's that doting, mom. It's that proud father. And then as the coach, you get to stand over and be the proud auntie because it's not your baby, but you helped raise it.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the experience that I've been having. And so with all of these, mostly women, again, we have been some men, but it's mostly women, to be able to see their growth, both personally and professionally, to see how they've pivoted, to see just to see the expressions of I accomplished this, I did this. And it's like we're better together. We can accomplish so much more together. And once we teach someone, we teach them to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. Once we teach them, they have those skills and they can go out and create something even bigger. And so that's what I'm thinking with my programs and my coaching, my courses. I just want everyone to be bigger, to live bigger, and to love bigger, and to have kindness ripple out. And I believe that that can happen one step at a time, one person at a time. And now in January, one chapter at a time.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and that's how it starts. I was hearing Rocky in my ear as you were speaking from Creed. Well, one step at a time, one punch at a time, one round at a time. How do you eat an elephant?
One
One
bite
bite at a
at a
time.
time. Oh my gosh. I say that all the time to my students and clients. It's great. Yeah, one bite at a time.
So, so you mentioned that you have courses. What are some of the courses that you teach?
So I have the courses are sold separately, but they come from my membership. So the pilgrimage to self. And so there's a developing a meditation practice. There's a communication course. There's a forgiveness, developing a forgiveness practice. That's probably one of the most popular ones because forgiveness is very difficult for a lot of people. And it's not only is it I was going to say it's an obstacle or a stumbling block on their path. It's a wall. You got to learn to forgive. And that's a hard one. So that's the most popular one, I think. And then a gratitude practice. And so these courses come from their master classes that I use within the membership. And so what I've done is I've just pulled them out of the membership. And then what I also do is I have a blog and it's called Stepping Stones from a Pilgrimage to Self. And I take little gems, little jewels, these stepping stones from the master classes. And that's what I blog about. So I share a little drip, a little bit in my blog for that. And then that way, more people that love, that kindness, those life management skills, as I call them, will ripple out.
Okay. So you said that the forgiveness course is a popular one, and that's a hard one. Why do you think forgiveness is hard, and why is forgiveness necessary?
So forgiveness, first of all, I'm going to say that it's necessary because it does you harm, not the person that you feel that did you wrong. So when we talk about forgiveness, we forgive really for ourselves, not the other person. I'll give you for instance. So if someone does something to you and offends you in some way, does you wrong, and you have a tiff and you're no longer speaking, they've moved on with their life. But when you're sitting there and you're thinking over and over and reliving, and your brain and your heart and your spirit that doesn't really know, is it really happening right now, this experience, or is it a memory of that experience? And so when you're reliving that experience, those emotions, the thought brings your feelings bring the action or the non-action. And so when you're thinking about this and you're start to well up, these feelings are welling up inside you, you're still in that same place, in that same hurt. That other person isn't thinking about you anymore. They've moved on. They're living their life. It's not holding them back. But if you don't forgive, it's holding you prisoner. And if you want to let it, you don't have to forget, but you do want to forgive. And you probably forgiving other people is difficult, but for some people, forgiving themselves is even harder. Forgiving themselves for waiting too long to get away from an abuser, waiting too long to stand up for what is right, beating themselves up for going to the fridge when they're on a diet and they weren't supposed to eat that. Or when I think of it, the women with addictions, going after that drug of choice. We need to forgive ourselves too. And so that can be very difficult because we use it as, it becomes shame, it becomes guilt, and we use it almost as a cloak. And we put that on ourselves and it becomes an excuse why we can do a behavior again. And once we give into the behavior once, it's easier to give it to the behavior again. Once we give into the behavior again, we do it again and again and again. It's now a habit. We have to take off the cloak. We have to face the truth. We have to be the truth. And we have to know that when we know better, we do better, as Maya Angelou used to say.
Yes, I mean that was painted perfectly. And that I can understand why forgiveness is such a struggle for people in certain situations. And I agree with you about the fact that forgiving yourself is one of the most difficult things to do because you are mad at yourself. It's like, I ignored these red flags. I continue to stick my hand in the snake den. Of course I'm going to get bit. This is my fault. I asked for this. And that is, those are thoughts and emotions that keep you in a room that you probably should not stay in. You should probably then move on to one of the other rooms that is in your house.
Exactly. And so you need to let it go. And so it doesn't disappear totally. It's still there. The memories are still there, but we become detached. We don't have to have carry that hurt. And when we learn that we're carrying way too much that doesn't belong to us, when we're willing to put that down, we can go much further. We can walk much further. Our lives will be happier. So learn to put down what doesn't serve you. Learn to deal with the shame, the guilt, the trauma, and put it down. Free yourself so that you can walk on. And you walk on by the grace of God. You walk on the path that you're meant to be on. It's intentional. And when you start using that remember I said the magic of choice? When you start using that magic ingredient of choice, you're making better decisions. You're putting yourself as a priority. You're practicing self-care. All of a sudden, it's like a rose blossoming. You get to bloom.
I love that and the analogy about the rose. And I mean, your reference to the rose. And I want to say this because this is another thing that I truly believe. Um, this process that you're describing, this is not an overnight process. And going back to what you said, about blooming as a rose, weeds grow quickly in the garden. Everything else takes time and it takes work. You don't do anything to the soil and you'll end up with a million weeds. But
Mhm.
when you really cultivate it, that is when you are producing something that is bountiful or fruitful for your life and your household. And it's the same exact way. It's the same exact way. I totally believe in that.
Exactly. And you got to weed your garden. Weed those thoughts. Those weeds are your thoughts in your head. Weed them out. Get rid of the negativity, the self sabotage, the inner critic, and let that go.
Yes, let it go. Let it go.
Weed your
Well, we are almost out of time, but before we end this session with the beautiful listeners of Real Talk, the podcast, Lisa, I want to give you an opportunity to tell all of the listeners how they can find you on social media, what is your website, and how to connect with you if they're interested in signing up for your membership or taking one of your courses.
So my website is www.lisamcgrath.me, and I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Coach Lisa McGrath. And real soon, I'll be launching the new website, Pages with Purpose.
Ooh, pages with purpose. I like that. Listeners, if you are interested in and working with Lisa and learning more about this Indian proverb by which she has just totally embraced and is teaching others how to embrace it to have just an overall better quality of life. I encourage you to please visit the website, visit her on social media, sign up for those courses. Any of those things that she said, if they resonated with you, connect with Lisa so that you will be greater in 2021.
Yes, thank you. Love it.
All right, Lisa. So I just want to say thank you so much for being on Real Talk, the podcast. This has been a very stimulating and nurturing conversation. Thank you so much for being in the guest chair today.
Thank you. And real talk, let's do it some more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, beautiful listeners, there's never enough time when I am spending it with you, but I just want to say to you again, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next Thursday for a brand new episode of Real Talk, the podcast. And once again, I am your host, Kimberly Sherrill. It's been a pleasure spending this time with you. Just know that in between times, you are always missed. You are always loved. And remember, beautiful people, to always do what? Stay real. I cannot wait to talk to you next week. Have a beautiful day, everyone.